another edition of Between Two Owls. I'm your host, Tom Bryce, and with us today is Dr. Seema Freer from the Department of Biology, who is also the Managing Director of our Professional Science Master's programs. Thanks so much for joining us today, Seema.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Tom.
So let's get right into it. Where did you grow up, Seema?
I grew up in India. Do you want me to be more specific than India?
Please. Yes.
All right. So I was raised in the city of Bombay, but I also went to a boarding school close to Bombay. Bombay is now known as Mumbai, so some of you may not recognize what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess that's where I grew up.
And so what were you involved in as a child? Did you play any musical instruments, games? What kind of activities were you doing?
So as I mentioned, I was in a boarding school. So we were made to do everything. There was nothing you could say no to, except you could choose or not to play an instrument. So I learned the piano, have not played it since. So unfortunately, can't do much there. Yeah, we played British sports because I was in a British boarding school in the heart of India. No, cricket wasn't very popular with women. So rounders, netball. Have you heard of netball? Throw ball. My husband was convinced that I made up these games until in Heathrow Airport, he ran into the New Zealand netball team. And I'm like, finally,
there you go.
Redemption. Yes.
Okay. And were you interested in biology as a child?
Well, as most Indian students were told, I was told by my mom, you need to be a doctor and you need to be able to take care of yourself, right? And so if you're a doctor, if anything happens in your life, at least you will be independent and financially able to support yourself. So being a doctor, quote, doctor, was very important to her. I enjoyed my time in boarding school, and it would require, for one, to get into an Indian medical school would require you to pretty much give up all of your 11th and 12th grade so you can be a doctor, because students go straight into medical school after 12th grade. But I had a blast. I enjoyed junior college, which is what we call our high school. I enjoyed college. And, of course, I was going to do science because my mom wouldn't permit anything else. I did get into a geology program, a very competitive one, in our rival university. My mom didn't let me pursue that because that was a man's field. I was supposed to be in a woman's field, and how was I going to travel to deserts and oil refineries as a woman in a man's field? So I was not allowed to pursue that. So I actually did a microbiology undergraduate degree and loved it. And beyond that, immediately after graduating, my parents at the time lived in the Middle East, which is why I was in the boarding school. And my relatives were in Bombay, so they were my guardians in India. And so when I went to the Middle East, I got a job as a microbiologist, which was fantastic, in a path lab.
Oh, wow. And where was that?
In Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. Actually, more specifically in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, but in a little town called Ruwais, which was an oil field town. So I worked in a community hospital there. At the time when I came to the US to pursue my PhD, whenever I said I came from Abu Dhabi, people in Philadelphia would hear Upper Darby, and they'd say, "You're from Upper Darby?" And no one had heard of Abu Dhabi. But of course, now everyone's like, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah. I'm like, okay, right. Yeah. So the world has caught up.
That's crazy. So, okay. So where did you go for your PhD?
So then I was given an option to either get married or to study. And so I chose the latter and was accepted to Thomas Jefferson University, initially for my master's program. And when I was at Jefferson in my first semester, I just felt that much of what I was learning was stuff that I already knew because I had worked in a path lab and had worked at that point for 2 years. So I didn't feel like I was learning anything new, and I would have loved to have done something along the lines of research, and the only people getting those opportunities were the PhD students. So I switched programs. And so I did my PhD at Jefferson. And after that, I moved on to Fox Chase Cancer Center to do my postdoc.
Awesome. I didn't realize that. That's great. And so So did you have another step in your path, or that lead you then eventually to main campus of Temple University?
So I got to Temple a very interesting way. I finished my postdoc. I didn't really have a very good time with research. I was quite miserable because biological sciences does not give you instant gratification. And you need to be very patient and have very patient people around you to mentor you. I was married by then. We were planning to have a baby. And so I took a time off after I finished my contract. I was really not sure what I was going to do with all of this until Richard Waring, who is faculty in Temple Biology, approached me and asked if I would perhaps consider being an adjunct and teach 1 or 2 lab classes 1 day a week. By then I had had my baby, so I had taken almost a year break. And so I wasn't excited about coming full-time anywhere. So I said, yeah, I could do a day a week. And that's how I started at Temple in 2001 and remained part-time till 2015, during which time many exciting things happened in my time on campus, but mostly I got to know how the biology program works, the rhythms of a year, what happens when students don't get into medical school. Most of those things led me to the professional science master's program to help students see that their biology degree was of great value and it didn't diminish in quality just because they didn't get into their plan A. So that's how I'm here.
That's great. And what do you like most about teaching Temple students?
I like the students. I like the fact that Temple recruits a very diverse population, even though the conversations around diversity now are demanding that we try even harder. I love some of the Temple stories. Some of them talk about great adversity. Many of our students are first-generation students. All of these lead to very interesting conversations. It really allows you to coach and mentor students to redirect their passion for science into science, as opposed to my passion for science means I must be a physician, right? And what I love about Temple most is its student body and how open they are to learning and how eager they are to succeed.
Great. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You already alluded to this. So how did you meet your husband?
How did I meet my husband? I met him at church. When I was an international student at Jefferson, there were a lot of, it's a cross-cultural transplant usually has a lot of issues. And I was, questioning my identity. I was always this young woman who was interested in science. I came to the United States and I became an Indian young woman. And I thought, I have never been in India and even in the Middle East. I was not quite as Indian as I was categorized once I came here. So it resulted in some spiritual searching and seeking a good church that aligned with my faith. I'm an evangelical Christian. The first time I went to church, I actually saw him. We didn't start dating for another 5 years, I think. 3 years. No, maybe 3 years, 3 years. But that's where we met. Awesome. And he was actually a bio major who got into med school and turned down his interviews. He got into all 5 of the Ohio schools, but turned down his interviews because he felt like he needs to go down a different path, which was to train in seminary and to lead a church. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So he's now the lead pastor of Living Word Community, which is a church I still attend.
Cool. And what do you like to do for fun?
I'm not a very fun person. My family it loves exercising and I watch them exercise. I think some of the things I enjoy most are my time with my family, the trips we take or the times we have together. I love reading. So
what are you currently reading?
Let's see. So I may have read all of Jane Austen's books at least 6 times. I just finished reading a wonderful novel, A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor. Immortal. Gosh, what a horrible thing that I'm butchering his name, but I would highly recommend the book.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a dream vacation spot or somewhere that you've been that is your absolute favorite?
My favorite is Singer Island in West Palm Beach, which is where my family goes every Christmas. We weren't able to go this past year because of the pandemic. It's a place we've been every Christmas. My kids have, grown up with a Christmas in Florida on the beach.
Wow, that's cool.
That's just our family tradition. So it'll remain my favorite spot.
What do you appreciate most in your friends?
What do I appreciate? Their wisdom. I love my group of girlfriends. I love their perspective. I feel like sometimes their depth shows me how short-sighted I can be. I just enjoy their laughter and times of conversation.
And what would be the title of your biography?
What would it be? From India to the US through the Middle East. I don't know. It'll be pretty dull. It will be a boring title like that.
Who would play you in the movie about your life?
It would have to be an Indian actress, right? And Priyanka Chopra is way too good looking to play me. I don't know. Gosh, someone from Bollywood.
All right, I'm going to shift gears. We do something called a rapid fire response. I'll give you 2 words. You just state your preference. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Morning or night?
Both.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Offense or defense?
Offense.
Dogs or cats?
Neither.
Bert or Ernie?
Neither.
Half full or half empty?
Half full.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on our show today, Seema. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks, Tom. This was fun.